Welcome to our presentation about finding strengths. This is adapted from the Strong Curriculum, Teaching for Strengthening Families Protective Factor Framework to Parents and Professionals, written by Maureen Durning and Jane Zink. When we are considering changes to the way we parent a child, we want to make gradual changes. We also want to recognize what we are doing well, what we may want to change or tweak a little, and one thing that we want to start doing in our parenting. So throughout this presentation, we want you to make a note of those things that you want to keep doing, those things that you want to change, and those things that you want to start doing or add. I just want to remind everybody about the 5 protective factors for building resilience in families and children. The first is parental resilience, which is your ability to deal with stressors in life and coping with any of the adversity that comes your way. Social connection is building healthy, trusting relationships where you feel respected and appreciated with your children, your family members, and with those around you. Concrete support in time of needs is being able to find what you need when you need it. Knowledge of parenting and child development is having positive discipline techniques and appropriate developmental expectation for your children. And then finally, social emotional competence, and that's being able to talk about your own feelings and handle social situations well yourself. We can all think of a person who looks at the world through rose-colored glasses. If you haven't heard that expression before, think about that one person who always sees the good in everything in our world. Remember the movie Pollyanna about the young orphan who was a true optimist, even though the world around her was not ideal. She was so positive that it wore off on everyone around her, even the most negative people in her life. How we view ourselves and those around us has a tremendous effect on how they see the world. In 1978, William Chambliss published a paper called The Saints and the Roughnecks, which describes how students were treated based on their socioeconomic circumstances by people with authority over them. The group of students who were the children of the town leaders, the saints, when they made mistakes, it was often considered sowing their wild oats. While the students who did not fall into that group, or the roughnecks, were often seen as troublemakers and treated as such. As you can imagine, how school administrators and teachers viewed these students had significant long-term effects on their lives. The most interesting part of this story is that in the end, the saints spent much more time cutting class and caused more property damage than the roughnecks. In 1928, William and Dorothy Thomas came up with what is now called the Thomas theorem. If men define situations as real, they are real in their consequences. In the case of the saints and the roughnecks, there were very real long-term consequences for how they were seen. This can also mean that if we shift the way we see our own children, we can also change the overall trajectory of their lives. All we have to do is look at our children with rose-colored glasses. Ready to apply what we've learned? I'm going to read you a story and see how changing the way you think about a student can change the way you feel about them. The story of Nash. Nash is on the hockey team, but his fighting is getting out of control. He's never going to seem by a college coach if he's always in the penalty box. He's almost flunking 2 classes, and his tutor says he has missed appointments because he is always picking up shifts at work for someone who calls in sick. I don't like his friends. They stay up half the night playing video games on some league. Nash thinks he's better than anyone else because he's looking at fancy colleges. But he's not going to be able to go anywhere if he doesn't stop spending so much on the girlfriend he's had for the last year. It's pretty easy to look at this short paragraph about Nash and see what he needs to do better. He is fighting, out of control, always in the penalty box. He is almost flunking 2 classes and keeps canceling with his tutor. We don't like his friends. He thinks he's better than others, and he keeps spending money on his girlfriend and not saving it. It's so easy to look at Nash and see what he could be doing better, especially if we look at the negative first. But what if we change the things that we were looking at, or we tried to look at the positive over the negative. He is on the hockey team, and it sounds like he is a really good hockey player. He's able to look at attending some of those good fancy colleges using his hockey. He is currently passing all of his classes. He is a good team player at work. He picks up shifts when his coworkers are out sick. On top of that, he's a good friend. He's in a league with friends on a video game. He's also been in a long-term committed relationship and seems to be spending both time and money on his girlfriend. How do you feel about this version of Nash? And how could we rewrite this narrative to focus on the positive rather than the negative? How differently would you feel about this news story of our friend Nash? Nash is a real team player, both on and off the ice. He is actively engaged with friends in an online gaming league. He is also a dependable employee and often fills in for colleagues when they are ill. He is devoted to his friends and will stay up half the night working on a group project. Many fancy colleges are looking at Nash, and he is currently in good standing academically to be able to take advantage of scholarships when they are offered. He has been in a committed relationship with his current girlfriend for the last year and insists on paying when he goes out. Now let's practice with a real life situation. I want you to think about the person in your life that's the most difficult to engage. I want you to think about some of their challenges, and then I want you to reframe those challenges into something more positive, like we did with Nash. How did this exercise change the way that you feel about the person in your example that you're thinking about? Did it reduce your stress in dealing with them? Did looking at strengths come naturally to you? Finding strengths is like exercising a muscle. The more you exercise that muscle, the easier it will be to apply to people that we work or live with. I would like to thank the sponsors for the curriculum that we're using. If you have any questions about this presentation or are interested in other topics, please contact me at 208-874-7891 or at beth@familiestogether.org. I appreciate it. You guys have a great day.